So what's up, guys? Back from SFL, and I have had my hands on with the Capcom Fighting Collection. And so some quick things to talk about. I'm gonna break down kind of my feelings of it, and also me and Wendy did a huge breakdown of kind of what's actually currently in it, at least that we could find in the current build that we have. So, first impressions. Big thumbs up. It felt good. In terms of speed, nothing stuck out to me. I didn't even think about the speed until much later when I was driving home of like, oh, I didn't even think about like how fast it felt. In that case, because of that, in my opinion, the speed is just fine. That, nothing stood out to me that, oh, it's running fast or slow. It felt fine in terms of speed. In terms of input delay or anything like that, nothing that I could see. Now, granted, I'm one of those people that have been, playing online a lot. So it could very well be that I'm just used to him having 1 frame or 2 frames of delay. But even with that, if that is the case, it still I didn't feel anything too significant with it, in my opinion for it. When it finally comes out and there's like a PC version and a PlayStation 5 version and stuff, maybe somebody can do a deep dive and actually see what that delay is, if there is one. But in my opinion, the delay that if there was delay that was on it, I didn't really feel it enough that it felt significant to me, and if that makes sense. And so that's the overall general feel in terms of, how it runs and all that kind of stuff. It's a great port from what I can feel in terms of its response, how it plays. Didn't feel any dropped inputs that I could feel. I did drop some things in the actual event of like Aegir stuff, but that was nerves. I'm on stage, people are watching, and I was already shaking. I don't do well in front of crowds. All right. But in any case, let's go. What happened is me and Wendy actually went in and did a breakdown. We had a whole list of what we wanted to actually test, and so we actually did a lot of that. Now, a quick thing. The build that was available didn't have access to EO version or any of the EX settings, so couldn't do picking 3 characters, 3 of the same character, couldn't do any of those kind of things. We did check 1-button rolls and that kind of stuff, which we'll get into. So this is only going to be in terms of arcade, what does the arcade CVS2 feel like, and what is the actual glitches and stuff that we actually found. So, as you can see, this is what we actually tested, of what's actually in the game, of all the glitches that we could test, we could think about and actually test. So, first thing, obviously, roll canceling is in the game. I actually even did it on stream, so obviously there. P2 cross-up is in the game. I did it multiple times, even on stream. A-groove grab starters, that is still a thing. So unfortunately, there was no opportunity to record. They didn't let us even do hand recording or plug into it because this is a test kit. This is not actually running on true like PS5. It's not actually a true build. So this is just a test kit. So, but A-groove grab starters are there. A-groove picking up Relento and Dan off the ground, still there. The first thing that is actually truly missing is throw tech reversals. So if you guys remember, when main one you'll see a lot is the Raiden one, where some people do supers and specials after a throw reversal and crazy shit happens, right? The most common one is when one person does a super, you actually will lose the meter if you actually do a super reversal. That is completely gone, which also means Raiden's upside down glitch is completely removed. It's mostly Raiden. That glitch from Raiden is just a happenstance that they take that out, because obviously that is probably the only way to actually soft lock the game. You have to pick 2 specific characters for it to happen, but because they don't want to have to worry about that being a possibility, you can now reversal after a throw tech. So unfortunately, no invisible custom combos for Gunter online. I'm sorry, but basically that's what we expected that to happen. I would like to have at least maybe can they just keep specifically Raiden's, because it's funny, but I understand why throw tech reversals was taken away. So that was pretty much expected for that to be taken out. So that's not so we expect that. And that being taken out, it doesn't happen often. And also, if you have this happen where you do a super reversal and then the meter gets taken away from you, that just sucks, right? So, we expect that to happen. That's fine. We're okay with that. So, the next thing, obviously, Kim still has his infinite. Chun being able to juggle her weird hurt box juggle is still there, so you can slide on her with Dictator and A Groove. That's still there. Chang's super is still low, and we actually were able to see it with the actual Hurtbox viewer, which was kind of funny. So the main thing that I always wanted to check was Chang's super, if you don't press anything, is blockable. Because it's considered a low, it activates Trip Guard, so the people can block if they empty jump Chang's super. But it was cool to actually see it in the actual Hurtbox viewer of like where the actual active frames are for like, oh, well, there it is. So that was kind of cool. Hibiki K-Groove. So this is where when Hibiki does her blackout super on a K-Groove character that would normally kill, but because when they does damage and K-Groove gets rage, they have more damage reduction. I guess that's the accurate way to put it. They have more damage reduction, so you actually do less damage, but it does it after the fact. Basically, it calculates it afterwards. So basically what happens is Hibiki does her super, thinking that it would kill, and she does her full animation that normally happens when, you know, the round is over, but the K-Groover survives, wakes up, and is able to punish. So that's still there. The next thing we check that's not there, which is very interesting, is post-KO meter build is actually not in this build. So even though it is arcade, it's similar to it's basically similar to console and similar to what we play currently in Flycast, right? Where there's no post-meter build after KO, which isn't the end of the world. It's something, like I said, when we play with consoles, that's also the case. Basically, if people don't know, if you're in a groove that you can build meter by pressing normals, if you are crouching at the end of a round when you win, you can actually still press some buttons, and you can actually build meter in the arcade. That's taken out in consoles as well as specific arcade versions as well. So that's gone. Doesn't really affect it too much because obviously if we're playing this for consoles, it's basically a console version essentially. So not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, they said in EX mode you can actually pick 3 of the same character, but we wanted to check if we can do the random select glitch, where you can pick 2 of the same character just in straight arcade, and that is possible. You can still do random, so even in ranked matches, you can still do the random select and pick 2 characters of the same character. So that's still there. One thing that we weren't able to test because the audio wasn't hooked up on the setups that were there, and I don't think I did any special that this applies to. The US and Japanese audio is whether or not genocide is actually said, because the US version and when it gets ported to the consoles like PS2, Grugal's special genocide cutter does not say genocide cutter, and Tiger Genocide is also not said either. So that's something that we weren't actually able to check, but if it's there and if it's not, it doesn't really make a difference. We just wanted to see if it was. One thing that is also taken out is the Kim Cammy quote unquote soft lock. So if Kim does Kim's air super against Cammy Spiral Arrow, she gets hovered in the air, and it's not technically a soft lock. You can get her out of it, which I'll show. But that is taken out. And so it's a weird interaction because it actually does do the whole super. It's how you would expect, where super hits somebody airborne, he does his air level, he does his air super, right? That makes sense, right? The thing that happened a lot when we were testing this was that it would only do 1 hit and then Cammy would fall. And what we think is happening is because she's so low to the ground, he hits, and then she touches the ground and it counts as grounded, and then the super ends. At first, when it first happened, I thought, oh, they totally just took it away and nothing happens. Instead, it can actually fully combo. It's just that because she's so low to the ground, there's some weird interaction where her box touches the ground and then it just stops after the first hit. So it's gone. So I wouldn't recommend actually doing this because there's a lot of chance where you're only going to get one hit and then Cammy will fall out. So we'll see if that maybe changes in the final build. But for right now, Cammy Freeze is gone. It actually is not a true soft lock because you can actually get her out by doing another super or just regular dive kick as well. But obviously, maybe people don't know that and they don't want this kind of soft lock thing. And then, you know, if someone has it on, like, infinite, they don't want it just a soft lock. So if someone does it and just let timer runs out, that's no fun. So I understand why that's gone. Doesn't really affect it too much. You won't really ever see that happening in, like, tournament play to begin with, so it's fine. This red impact, so this was actually still in the game. So this is called Claw Stored Red Impact. So Claw's level 3 punch super, which is a level 3 only, requires him to have Claw. But what can happen is you can actually walk forward and do the super when the claw's not attached. So if he's not attached, you can actually basically store the charge essentially and get the super out. But yeah, so red impact glitch for Claw, that's still in the game. That's it because I can only do this. I could only ever find this in arcade, and since this is an arcade version, it was actually able to do it. So all good. We tested one button rolls. Yep, that's a thing. One button specials and roll cancel. Yeah, that makes a lot. It will change definitely meta once people get used to doing one. If it becomes common that you can assign the 8 buttons to roll or whatever, that will be a big change because that is very easy to plink that. The only thing is you have to be very. I was getting a lot of negative edge because I was just pianoing and letting go. But it's very easy just to put that button there and just constantly have it right next to a heavy and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's that. Oh, and then this is still in it, which I find hilarious. So what happens is if you guard cancel on the super flash, the guard cancel happens, but the super flash eats your animation. And that is actually still in the game as well. So a lot of the glitches are actually there. The only glitches that basically are gone are things that were either considered that could lead to possible quote-unquote soft locks of the game, as well. And then the only other one is probably just because of the version we're using. It's the KO meter build, which is not that big of a deal. Can you still pop trick? Yes, I was doing pop. I did pop demon on Windy a few times. So pop tricks are still in the game, yes. But yeah, so that's basically what we went through. Overall feelings, I think Windyman and I had the same feeling of like, I want to play more. We could have played a lot more, but with the rivals thing going on, we wanted to actually watch a bit, and then I wanted to get home. I could have continued to play for a long time. It felt good enough that I'm like, I want to keep playing. I want to keep playing. I expect to have good online if the Marvel collection, based off the Marvel collection. Me and Windy are like, oh, why do we have to wait till May, man? You give me a taste and I want more. So, final thoughts. So far feels great. As to if there is internal delay, it's probably not, unless you're probably maybe Boss or John Choi. I personally didn't feel anything significant enough for me to be like, oh yeah, it's there. It didn't really feel it there, but like I said, I have a biased view of I've been playing kind of, you know, these emulations with a little bit of delay anyway, so that might just be my norm. But overall, it felt crisp and it felt good to play. So thank you guys so much for watching. Look forward to more CVS2 content when this comes out on May 16th. I'll catch you all later.